welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever you're joining from. I know it's been a while that we've had a workshop, and I've given you reasons why it's been a while. Things haven't been quite peaceful, to say the least, in the region. I've been heavily involved in the coverage of whatever conflict wars have been going on, so I've just not had any time at all to dedicate to anything else. But thankfully, things are relatively calmer, things are relatively smoother, slightly more peaceful until Trump decides to go on through social. So fingers crossed. Um, so welcome today for this session on media Learnity on solutions journalism. And today we have our trainer Priya Kapoor, who will be taking us through an introductory session on solutions journalism, as mentioned. She's a journalist from India with over 2 decades of experience across print and digital media, and she's currently serving as a consultant editor at News Sense, where she focuses on media literacy and constructive reporting. So, as before, this session will be around an hour in total. Please feel free to put your questions in chat whenever you have. We'll have about 10 to 15 minutes at the end of this session. So after 45 minutes, we'll have about 10, 15 minutes for Q&A, where Priya will be happy to answer any questions. But again, you can put the questions in chat. We'll be monitoring that. You can unmute yourselves at the end of the session to ask questions directly. You can put your hands up, whatever. And a reminder that this session will be recorded and will be put up on our YouTube page and sent out through our WhatsApp community and other platforms by tonight. So I'm not going to take up any more time. I'm going to hand it over to Priya, who's going to take you through some basics of solutions journalism. Thank you and welcome, Priya.
Thanks, Faraz. I welcome all of you. Thank you for joining this session on an approach that's reshaping the journalism worldwide. It's called solutions journalism, and you can introduce yourselves in the chat where you are joining from and where you're working, whether working full time or independently. You can put that in chat, and I take you to the presentation. I share my presentation first. Yeah, can you see that, the presentation?
Yep, all good.
Okay, okay. So before I start, I would like to take the audience, the participants to some slides of some news stories, and I would like them to answer how they feel when they they read such stories. They may be reading this, but how do they feel, when they actually read them? So here are some stories. I read them out loud to them. Gaza death toll exceeds 75,000 as independent data verify loss. Ahmedabad plane crash kills over 260 people. World mourns Air India's major tragedy. Over half of South Sudan's population faces acute hunger crisis. And Bangladesh clashes. It says the BBC story says 90 killed in anti-government protests. So I wanna ask all of you, how do you feel, when you read such stories? You feel very empowered, hopeful, or you feel fatigue and pessimistic? You can put that in chat. Answers. Frustrated. Okay. What else? Anybody else? What's your initial reaction, Apart from being a journalist, otherwise as a reader, as an audience, what do you feel when you read such news? Okay, everybody else feels very empowered and hopeful with such. Oh, you feel like avoiding such news. Okay. Anybody else? So they make you feel very empowered and hopeful that no. Okay. Anybody else would like to frustrated? Okay. Feels like avoiding the news. Okay. Fine. Frustrated. All right. These are important stories and we should be knowing about them. But uh, that is the reason, we first see, what's the audience reaction to global audience reaction to news is. How do they feel? So, according to Reuters Institute Digital News Report 2025, it says 31% feel worn out by the amount of news. 30% say there is too much coverage of conflict and war. 29% say there is too much coverage of politics. 20% say there is nothing they can do with the information. 18% say it leads to arguments they would rather avoid. 18%, that's equally same number, say news doesn't feel relevant to their life. And 9% say news is too hard to understand. And if we see overall, 40% people sometimes or often avoid the news. So the news is important, but the global audience reaction to news is not, means it's very sad. So now let's see the region wise figures. So in Africa, if we see in Kenya, 50% people avoid news. In South Africa, the percentage is 41%. In Europe, Bulgaria and Greece, it comes to 60 and 63%. In Asia, if you look at India, the news avoidance rate is a whopping 50%. In Indonesia, it's 39%, and in Thailand, it's 41%. These are all figures from Reuters Institute Digital News Report 2025. When we talk about USA, again, the figures are 42%, the news avoidance rate. And across Australia, it's 40%. So what these figures tell us, that news avoidance is global. Overall, people are avoiding news. Though the intensity differs, across region, it differs, but overall, people are avoiding news. And therefore, we as a journalist must adapt our reporting styles to rebuild trust and engagement. So what's the alternative? Can we say solutions journalism fit into it? Before I delve deeper into solutions journalism, I would like to ask you, when you hear this word, what does it come to your mind? What is solutions journalism? You can unmute or you can put that in chat, one or two words. What do you understand by it? You can unmute yourself and Okay, I feel after a while people do become desensitized. Okay. But what do you understand by solutions journalism before I tell you its definition? Before I tell you, what it is actually? Anybody would like to answer?
Can I say something?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
So, according to me, solution journalism, it's like when we do a story, we always take two opinions, and
Hmm.
we always conclude the story on he says this, he says that. But
Right.
I think if we go for solution journalism, we can add the tricks, tips, and problem solving things into our story. So obviously it will be based on research data and experts opinion what we can do for these issues. So I think this will make our story towards solution journalism as.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much. So now I tell you what solutions journalism is actually. So, solutions journalism is actually rigorous reporting on responses to social problems. It's about examining what's working and what's not and why. It helps journalists tell the full story and not just one part of it. So it applies the same rigor that we apply to any other reporting. We investigate it. So we apply the same rigor that is applied to any problem reporting. So we tell, what is working, what's not. It's not just one part of it that we have told, okay, we are writing about a problem. We are also telling what is there, what's the response that is being implemented, but it goes beyond that. It goes deeper into it. It's not just putting one or two lines in the story that find the whole stories about a problem, but in the last few lines, in the last few paras of the story, we are mentioning the response or what can be done about it. It's already something which is already in motion, being implemented for that problem. So we are reporting about that response, which is already being implemented. And then we investigate it further. So now I take you to the four main pillars of solutions journalism. So these are response, evidence, insights, and limitations. So first is response. So we are telling, there is a problem and what is being done about it, the implementation. So it should already be in motion. It's not that there is some intention or a proposal or what can be done about it. It's already being done, you know. So any action, policy, or initiative that is being implemented to tackle a social problem, it's not just intentions, idea, proposal, or announcement. So something that's already being implemented is called a response. Second is evidence. We must investigate if that response has yielded some outcome. You know, that could be in the form of data, or that could be in the form of testimonials. Or, you have spoken to people and they say, yeah, this particular thing, measure has impacted us or improved the situation. Third is insight. So you need to give in the story how that response was carried out, what made it work, why it worked, and is it replicable? The replicability part is very important, because if I, as a reader, reading about a solution, uh, so I should also know, can I replicate it? If I'm also facing a similar problem, can I replicate it? So that replicability of that response is very important. And fourth pillar is limitations, means any response that is being carried out for a problem is not flawless. It's not a silver bullet. It must be having some gaps, some shortcomings, some limitations. And as a solutions reporter, if I am writing a solutions piece, I need to mention that limitation also in the story. Otherwise, it runs the risk of being an advocacy piece or a fluff piece. So if you want to avoid, your story to come across as an advocacy or a fluff piece, it's better. It's not better. It's actually important that you give the limitations. You tell where it is falling short, that response. So together, these four pillars, any solution story rests on these four pillars. This is the framework of any solution story: response, evidence, insights, and limitations. So now I take you to a story. So this is a solutions piece, how Houston moved 25,000 people from the street into homes of their own. So there was a clear problem of homelessness, which was responded to. I take you to the story. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. this is the story of New York Times. It's a solutions piece that says how Houston moved 25,000 people from the streets into homes of their own. So there was a clear problem of people of homelessness, which was addressed. And there's a clear evidence that 25,000 homeless people directly they were given homes. So there's an evidence in the story. So what was the problem? The problem was chronic homelessness in Houston. The response was a housing first approach where city officials, non-profits, landlords, and federal agencies, they all came under one umbrella, and people were moved into apartments or houses, not shelters, but straight into apartments. And as I mentioned, there was an evidence over 25,000 people moved into stable housing. The story also talks about the third pillar inside. It talks how it was done. Uh, it it treated housing as the starting point and not the reward at the end. And they made sure that people get homes first, and then other things, job, health, and other challenges will be taken care of. So the story clearly talks about response, the evidence, the insights, how it was done. And lastly, it also talks about the limitations that because for that, for to make this thing happen, for this program, they had to rely on federal pandemic funds and housing vouchers, which may not be sustainable in the long run. So the response has some shortcomings. The response was carried out with the help of federal grants, but it's difficult to sustain in the long run. So the story addressed all the four pillars: the response, evidence, insights, and limitations. So it fits into the Sojo framework. I take you to another story. So this is a story from India, from Odisha's Koraput district, and the story is about farmers who are facing a problem with rice yields because of erratic rainfall. So wait, I take you to the story. So here is the story. The farmers were facing problem of rice yields because of erratic rainfall linked to climate change that made cultivation increasingly uncertain. Rice cultivation, because rice is a water intensive crop, it needs a lot of water. So they talked about this technique, SRI, and it clearly says, inside it. So traditionally, if you see, through traditional method, the yields are very less, between 7 and 15 quintals per acre. But by using this technique, the yields increased between 14 and 25 quintals. Moreover, the farmers earned income, in INR 25,000 to earlier it was 25 to 30. Now it's been 55 to 75,000. So there is an evidence that this method worked not in just increasing the yield of rice, but also boosted farmers' income. Yeah. So it also talks about insights. It explains how and why the technique works. The story, if you read the story deeper, you will also see the story mentions that it happened because of the technique where plant spacing improves root growth, soil health matters more than chemical inputs, and indigenous rice varieties can thrive with improved techniques. So these are the insight that was given in the story. So, firstly, the story talked about a problem, it talked about a response, then evidence, then it gave insights, how and why the technique worked, and it also acknowledged limitations that it's very knowledge and labor intensive technique. You need to know many things, and a lot of labor is needed, hands on training is needed for sustained effort. So together, all these pillars, make it a sojo piece. Now we saw what sojo is. Now we see what sojo is not. Any PR or promotional story cannot be called a solutions piece. Any good news or feel good story is not a solution piece. Any story where we are just talking about an individual, it's called hero worship and not a solutions piece. Then any speculation, like you just said, we are telling, this can work. Something that can work but is not already in motion uh, will not qualify for a sojo piece. Any response that is just, an idea or a proposal is not a sojo piece. Then only if you're telling only positive in the story, again that's not a sojo piece, because mostly we as a journalist, we mistake it, any positive story we mistake it for a solutions piece, but that is not a solution piece. Then only if the story talks about a response, just a response that something was being done, that's not a solution piece. So any story that has all these elements will not qualify for a solutions piece. I take you to an example. So this is a story. A tribal girl from Chandrapur raises the bar, gets Maharashtra government grants for LLM degree in London. So when you read this headline, what do you think? What kind of story would it be? Can anybody tell me in chat box, or you can unmute? Is it a sojo piece? Is it a human interest story, or is it a inspiring profile? Worship. Okay. What else? Feel good. Okay. Right. Inspiring. Is it a sojo piece? Just on the if you just read the headline, do you think it can be a sojo piece? No. Okay. Fine. Yeah, you spotted it right. So this is not a sojo piece, and I tell you the reason why. So there's too much focus on an individual. It's about personal success. The story is talking about a girl, her success, not a systematic response. There's no problem solution frame. She's given scholarship, but the story doesn't analyze how the scholarship tackles, tribal education gaps. Then, if you read it, there's no evidence of the program's success or impact. So yeah, you are right. In short, it's just an inspiring profile, or you can say a human interest story or a positive story, because it celebrates her achievement without examining the wider effectiveness. But very often journalists, or we as a journalist also sometimes get confused, and we label it as a sojo piece or a solutions piece. Then I take you to another example. So hot weather plan for tube activated for heat wave. So what kind of story is this? Anybody would like to answer, or shall I tell you upfront what it is? Is it also an inspiring profile, or you feel it could be a sojo piece? Okay, so this story is partially a sojo, but not very strong on sojo. There is a response to the heat wave. The tubes in London are getting hotter. Not all are air conditioned. So the government has taken some initiative. So there is a response, about improving ventilation and making, deploying cooling fans there. So there is a clear response, but the insights, there's not much of insights in it. It doesn't talk about, how the response would work. The evidence is very partial, very less. We don't have the data, uh, how many people have benefited. The limitations of what their response is again missing, So this is a very weak sojo where there is a response, some insights, but mostly the evidence is missing or the limitations are missing. So this is mostly a response driven reporting, you would say. It can't be a strong sojo piece. Let's see what is a traditional journalism, the difference between a traditional journalism and a solutions journalism. So, the focus of any traditional story is problem, conflicts, and crisis. And if you look at solutions journalism, it's basically responses to investigating responses to problems and evidence based storytelling. The tone of any traditional journalism is often negative or alarmist, but in solutions journalism, it's mainly evidence based and analytical. The goal of a traditional or problem focused reporting is to inform as well as to make those people who are in power accountable. But in Sojo, we hold leaders accountable by showing, where the system is failing or where the system is actually working, what we can learn, what, that can be adopted or supported, So we are making them accountable, but in a different way by showing them, uh, see here, this thing can work and the same can be implemented by you. So there is a difference in approach of how we are making them accountable. Then for outcome for readers, uh, I as a reader, if I'm reading a traditional story, I'm just made aware about a problem. But otherwise, if I'm reading a solutions piece, I know the problem as well as what is being done to address that problem, and is there any evidence that it has worked. So the outcome for readers differs. So we just saw that farmer story, Koraput, so if it was just a traditional reporting, there it would have said, farmers are struggling with low rice yields. But in solutions journalism, it also added, the new method increased yields by 30%, but required intensive training. So there is a clear difference in approaches of traditional as well as solutions journalism. Okay, now we see what stats says about Sojo, So any solutions journalism or, Sojo story, it drives engagement, and audiences spend more time on such stories. They trust media outlets more. So this is a story from Seattle Times Education Lab in class out of court, how one school district triumphed over truancy. So the story basically tells, how usually what schools do to tackle absenteeism is they make use of punishment. But here this school tried to understand students' concern and why they are being absent from school, and they made necessary arrangements. So this story drove very good engagement. We see the numbers. So 62% of Seattle Times readers, when they read this story, they agreed the story changed the way they thought about this topic. 50% of parents and 84% of educators said they were very likely to talk to someone else about it. The engagement rose by 102%. Time on page was up by 180%. And social shares were up by 230%. And there was increase in reader education user rate, returning user rate, that it was up by 64%. So now you saw, how such stories engages audiences more, and they like to spend more time on such stories. Now we come to finding Sojo stories. How can you find Sojo stories? How can you begin doing it? So we start with identifying the problem first. For any Sojo story, there needs to be some problem, and then you look at, has it been clearly defined? Like, is it well known? Do people understand it? Do you understand, as a journalist, do you understand the problem? If no, then it's a problem focused story. You still need to write about it as a problem focused story. If it is clearly defined, then you must ask, is it widely covered? Has it been written before? Is it widely covered by media before? Or there's no coverage of this problem? If there's no coverage of the problem, again, it makes for a good problem story and not a solutions piece. But if yes, this calls for a solution story. It's a very strong candidate for a solution story. So then you must begin by looking for a response. So where can you look for responses? Responses is something that you need to begin with, for doing a Sojo piece. So here are a few places or things where you can look for responses. You can check with your local contacts. If you're writing about a particular topic, you can call professionals in the field. You can check with academic papers, academic experts. You can check with network of innovators. Maybe there's some app for it, or some technology, something, some innovation there, for that problem. Uh, then again, you can check some industry reports. You can also check if the projects are being launched every now and then. You can look back and see, if there were some projects launched, in relation to this, and how that project is doing now. So immediately, if a project is launched, you won't get the evidence that it has worked. But after a while, maybe 6 months down the line, you can see how the project is doing. So if the project is doing well, maybe that can be a solution to the problem, and then you can investigate and build on it and do a Sojo piece. Then again, you can check for press releases where sometimes positive trends are mentioned, and you can examine them. So these are some of the places, where you can look for responses for your story. Now I come to the point. So we discussed, places for looking for responses. You can also do solutions piece with a data set. How many of you here are data journalists? or have done data stories? Anybody? Is there anybody data journalist or has worked with data before?
Yes, I've worked with data before.
Okay, okay. So mostly what kind of stories have you done with data? Am I
Okay.
audible? Am I audible?
Yes.
You can mention in chat, okay? Okay. Okay, so mostly when we work with data as journalists, we mostly focus on the negative, or worst performers. We mainly look for worst performers in a data set. If we are analyzing a city's data, we look for worst performers, worst crime rate, weakest governance. But the same data set we can use to scan improvements. We can look for dips, where the crime rate has gone down. So these are called positive deviants, means outliers achieving unusually good results vis-a-vis others. Like which city is reporting lowest infection rate, or which hospital is reporting lowest infection rate, or a city which has successfully reduced child obesity. So the same data set that we used to report a negative story, we can use it for a sojo piece. But the data itself is not a sojo piece, it's just a clue or a lead to a story. So from there on, we have to build. So I take you to an example of a data. Is it visible, this data? So this is a cybercrime data of Indian states, 37 states of 3 years, 16, 17, in 18. And I've calculated the growth. So all the states except few small states and West Bengal in India, they are showing a dip in cybercrime cases, and rest all are showing a increase. So this gives us a clue, what has worked in West Bengal that led to a drop in cybercrime cases? So this is a clue to doing a sojo piece. So we have the evidence. We already have the numbers. 16% drop in cybercrime cases in West Bengal. So from now, we start looking for responses. Earlier, we discussed, where we can look for responses. We can check with people. We can look for press releases, projects, network of innovators. But this is also a great place to look for response, the data. So now when we know that it's an outlier, West Bengal is an outlier, we can begin looking for response, that what it did differently that led to a drop in the numbers. But then we should also be careful that this could simply be an underreporting. We also have to, triangulate the information. We have to talk to other peoples to really find out if the drop is, if there is really the drop, or it's just underreporting, or, the mechanisms have changed of reporting that led to, a decrease in the number of, reported figures. So a data set can be a great tool to look for responses and build a solutions journalism story. Now I take you to reporting on failures. So we can also cover a failed response. So far, we usually cover a failed response in traditional reporting, and That's the role of a journalist to, to flag failures of government, evaluate their policies critically. But there's another side to it. We can also do that constructively, instructively. So traditionally, we would say, if we do a piece, what went wrong, who is to blame, ask who failed, and who should be held accountable. But when we are doing a solutions piece, apart from asking, who is to blame, and asking, all those questions that we usually ask in a traditional reporting, we'll ask, why did it fail? How can future responses be improved? And obviously, as evidence is the major pillar in a sojo, so we will explain the evidence of failure, that it didn't work, but not critically. We'll tell it constructively. I show you an example here. So this is a story from Dawn, uh, Pakistan story. Why the Kisan card scheme failed. So the farmer, this is a scheme introduced for farmers there because they were struggling with high input cost and lack of financial support. So the government there introduced a card for them, so that they the direct benefit transfer is ensured to farmers, and they can easily avail seasonal loans at low or zero interest. So but the scheme failed. So this is a sojo piece, which is covered, which is written in a solution style. It talks about the problem. It talks about the response. It also tells evidence that there has been no improvement and low participation. The program collapsed. I take you to the story. Yeah. So this talks about Kisan Card, a new initiative designed by government to support farmers, upgrade their skills, and boost productivity in Pakistan, in Punjab, and other district. And it clearly says the landlords have also been disappointed by the failed promises of the scheme. So there's a clear, the story delves deeper and, show the evidence that the scheme failed. But it also tells you why it failed, because of the biometric verification problems, confusing registration processes, poor coordination between banks and government departments, lack of internet access in rural areas. And also it talks about the lessons learned and the broader understanding that if financial schemes are to be introduced, they must be simple and accessible. There should be increased transparency. So it could have been done in a traditional way, traditional reporting style, but by telling, why it failed and what lessons it can offer, it turned into a solution space. Now I take you to some questions that would encourage responses. If you are going as a solutions reporter, these are some of the questions you can ask that will elicit some responses. So what's the problem you're trying to solve when you go out, when you are asking of the problem, you ask, to the community, what is the problem you're trying to solve? How does your response work? Where did your idea come from? What's your evidence that it's effective? How are you measuring success? Is there any data to show as evidence what's not working or needs improvement? Could this be replicated? What would be the barriers to replicating, and how do you plan to scale this? So, we learned so much about solutions journalism, but solutions journalism is not only in national or international in scope, it thrives at every level. Even local stories can be good solutions pieces. Community led grassroots or municipal efforts can be strong sojo stories because readers trust and engage more with stories which are rooted in their own communities. So this is a story that I did couple of months back about a gated society in Gurugram that took a dry waste initiative and rerouted 10,000 kg of dry waste. And in this story, I talked about problem, response, evidence. I gave insights how they did it. They made WhatsApp group, you know, and also I talked about the limitation. So this is in the story tracker of Solutions Journalism Network. Now we come to the barriers in solutions journalism reporting. When we start doing solutions journalism pieces, mostly there is lack of interest from editor side because newsroom focuses still on the breaking news, and they might dismiss it as a software and advocacy journalism. Then we as reporters sometimes we often not sometimes we face tight deadlines, and if we do not find evidence, then that's also an obstacle or a hindrance because evidence is must for a solution piece. And lastly, we as a journalist, we are more trained to focus on problem and not responses. So these few things can be a barrier to solutions journalism reporting. How can we overcome them? We can pre-report and we can mention data studies or measurable outcomes when we are pitching to our editors. We can follow the core pillars that I just spoke, the four pillars: response, insights, limitations, and evidence. We can begin normalize asking what's being tried to address this problem. If in a newsrooms, whenever there are pitches or story discussion, we can always talk about, what's being tried to address this. uh, we can collaborate with other reporters. If not alone, we can take along other reporter and work on that story. And we can offer a trial, instead of introducing it as a full-fledged, we can begin saying, okay, let's try one story. So I talk about the resources where you can look for Sojo resources. So Solution Story Tracker of Solutions Journalism Network is a very good place. It has the largest collection of solutions journalism anywhere. So if you want to read more of Sojo stuff, you can visit this site. So it has more than 17,000 stories produced by more than 9,000 journalists from 102 countries. And the topics range from climate to democracy to public health and economic mobility. So this is a great place where you can look for and read and see all type of Sojo stuff. So these are some of the outlets which accept, and in the mainstream media also, media is accepting solution stories. But these are some of the dedicated, I would say, outlets that are accepting Sojo stories. The Reasons to be Cheerful, Next City, The Nawal, Christian Science Monitor, Upbeat, Gab, Unbiased the News, Monga Bay. It recently launched its solution desk. BBC Future also takes The Guardian, The Seattle Times. So let's recap what we learned. Solutions journalism is evidence based reporting on responses to social problems. It's not advocacy, puff piece, or ignoring problems. There are four pillars: response, evidence, insights, and limitations. Even positive deviants in a dataset show us where things are working unusually well and can be covered. We can also cover failed responses as they are valuable and they teach lessons. And of course, sojo stories, they improve engagement when audience see, what is working and not just what's broken. So this is what we learned. This is a recap of our training. Yeah, so I would like to take any question if you have now. I hope you understood it quite well, and the four pillars. Anybody has any question, they can ask me
Hi,
this time.
Priya. Can you, yeah, okay, you've done that so we can see people who are asking questions.
Okay, I'm Kamal Boaz. I wanted to ask
Yeah,
information
can't hear
journalism
you.
and investigative journalism. Okay, let me try again. Am I audible?
Yeah, yeah.
Am I? So I wanted to ask, what is the difference between solution journalism and not citizen investigativism?
Okay, fine. So, even a solution piece is also an investigative piece, but it looks at the responses. Uh, Responses, it needs evidence. It also talks about the limitations as well as insights. So any solution piece is also an investigative piece, but not all investigative piece can be called a solutions story, because for that you need to have insights and the limitations also, and of course the response.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody? I think there was a question. Wait. So, can solutions based be applied to broadcast? Yeah, it can be applied to any format, be digital, broadcast. The basic framework remains the same, that you need to tell the story with those four pillars in mind. So it can be applied in broadcast as well, or you're framing it for TV journalism. The core pillars of a solutions story remains the same. That
Okay.
was insight. Sorry, I'm reading another. There's another. How do you draw the line, especially in newsroom setting, to resist the pressure to frame story as positive or hopeful? Yeah, that's so. Yeah, that is what I talked about. That it can be, your sojo piece can be dismissed as just a positive or advocacy piece. For that, you need to have evidence with you. If there is a clear evidence, it will not fall into the line of just a positive story.
Okay. I have a question. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. I can't hear you. Can you put that in chat? I can't hear you. Uh, I can't hear.
Has anyone else got any questions while we hear from person who was putting in chat? We've got a couple of minutes left, so please put your questions in chat or just unmute yourself uh, and make use of this time.
Thank you. I hope you guys understood properly what solutions journalism is and all the four pillars. If anybody still has any query, any doubt, you can feel free to ask me.
All right. So I have a question. Am I
Yeah.
audible?
Yes. Go on.
This is like Sayyid Sikandar Ali. I am an assistant professor at the Department of Media and Communication at IBA University, Sakkar. That's part of Pakistan.
Okay.
My question to you would be related to the curriculum or the syllabus. Do we teach this concept, or which subject would it deal with this broad perspective of sojo solutions journalism? Where does it fall in the academia? That is the question. Our students need to know around the world. We should be incorporating this concept. This is a wonderful concept, but where does it fall in the academic discourse? Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sikandar. Yeah, you're right. It needs to be introduced in the curriculum of, at the university level. So I guess this is a very new concept, very niche. So I think universities and the colleges, should start incorporating this in their curriculum. So uh, for the final year students, or who are about to pass their their courses, mass communication courses, I think this approach should be incorporated in their curriculum, I would say.
I'm just
Do we
gonna
have like
piggyback on that just one second. I don't think I would slightly disagree with you on this, Priya, that this is a new concept.
Mm-hmm.
This I don't believe it's a new concept. It's something that's we looked at it in a very alienated way. We look at solutions journalism in a very different spectrum to how we see journalism. It needs to be incorporated as part of the main curriculum. It shouldn't be that it needs a separate set of instructors or trainers or thinking or logic to form solutions journalism as part of the Toulouse journalism training sessions. I mean, as journalists, we're supposed to be informing the audiences anyway, right? We're not supposed to just tell them, hey, this is an issue, sort it out yourself. If there's solutions to it, if
Yeah.
there's a positive case study. So I think it's a problem with how the outlook has been. It's a problem with how we see solutions journalism as we see as a separate, like Sikandar, you said, how can you adopt it? How can you just do it? I think once we start adopting it as part of the core curriculum, we will understand that every time someone comes up with a story or someone thinks of a story, there's a solution part attached to it and not leaving the
Yeah.
readers or the audiences or students hanging. So slight disagreement on there. That it's not a new
No,
concept.
no,
It's just the way how it's just how we look at this concept. That's new.
yeah, I would also like to add. So, the term is relatively new, but it has been in existence for some time. We have been doing it, but not giving it a name, a proper name. But yes, we as a journalist have been doing it in some form or the another, but a proper name or solution wasn't, given to it. So I agree with Faraz on this.
thank you. Thank you so
Anybody
much.
else?
Hello everyone. Hello
Yeah.
everybody. Uh, this I have a question, please.
Yeah.
Actually, there's this community I know. They have an issue with education. They have a problem with education, meaning it's a large community with close to 500 or 700 inhabitants. They don't have a school. They don't have a public school, be it a primary, secondary, or whatever. So what they did is they rally themselves up and then started struggling to acquire one. It took them about 10 years to be able to acquire a piece of land and all the necessary things that they need for a school to be built. It's just recently they managed to have a public school, a one block of classroom, and quite fortunately under a UNICEF program in nomadic education, they came and saw the place and they are very happy. They now have 3 blocks of classroom and it's renovated with all the modern fittings and amenities. This story fits into the Sojo framework and can it be reported as such?
I think yes, but it needs to be backed with the other pillars also, with the evidence, how it is doing, and again the insights and the limitations part. So yes, there has been a response to, it. So yeah, but it needs to be backed with the other elements. Faris, you have to say anything on this?
No, no, you're the expert in the panel, so I agree totally. I'll just yeah, I'm good with what you said.
So if I can come again, uh, based on this, could the limitation be their struggle in getting the school built, or what could that be the limitation? I know I have access to them for responses and things like that, but completing other elements of the requirement, the pillars I said, how do this narrative fits?
Sorry, I didn't understand the limitation part, but sorry, can you come again?
We have I have the insights of how they were able to get government to respond to build a school for them over 10 years, and
Mm-hmm.
I know the school is there now, and now pupils are there, and parents and all the community members are evidence of that it is there, and it has impacted positively on them. So the
Mm-hmm.
other aspect of the other pillar of Sojo you just mentioned, what could that be in this narrative? Is it the limitation, or how can we find the limitation now to complete the 4 pillars?
So, if the school is open and students are coming in, parents are happy, uh, then you must look out, what the school is not able to maybe provide, means uh, what is missing there, still missing in the school. So, maybe that could be the limitation, or the funding part could be the limitations, or maybe only few classes take place, and it's from nursery to maybe just fifth standard. There could be many limitations, that it's not still full-fledged, or maybe the teachers are absent, or the teachers are not on the roles fully. There could be many gaps still. It's a good initiative, and the school is open, teachers are the students are coming, parents are happy, but then what is missing is the syllabus okay, or just the conditions in the school, are they tolerable, can students still sit there? There could be anything.
I understand. Thank you very much. I understand.
Thank you, Yakubu, for your question. I think we'll have to end it here because we're running out of time. Just before we go, I just want to pick up on one little thing, that the question that Nafisa asked, and something that Priya alluded to as well. How solutions journalism is not limited to just text. I mean, we've seen, Priya, you quoted the Voices study, and if you go into detail in the Reuters study, it shows that more and more people actually inclined towards video and visual aspect kind of thing. So keep all the concepts in mind that Priya talked about, the 4 pillars, the ideology and everything, but also think laterally in terms of videos. Think in terms of when Priya talks about the data journalism part of things, think in terms of bars, bar charts, graphs, interactives, infographics, visual stories, photos, videos, anything, not just specific to yourself. The text is still, I have a text background as well, and I specialize in text, but I also teach digital storytelling and how we adapt text to different platforms. So just keep that in mind. Thank you all very much for attending this workshop. Like I said, it's been a long time coming. We've had to put things on a pause because of the situation in the region where I am based. Um, Things are improving, so hopefully we'll continue with these workshops and courses. Um, the recording of this session will be up on our YouTube page by tonight. Hopefully, it'll also be shared on our WhatsApp channels, community, and on the website as well. And if anyone wants to reach out to Priya directly for any tips, coachings, trainings, whatever, I'll share a LinkedIn link if she's okay with that on the website, and I'll let you guys know, or any other way of reaching out to her. Because again, we don't want this learning process to stop after like 1 hour session. We want it to grow. We want people to sort of share what they've learned in their newsrooms, in their communities. And also, please don't just forget what Priya told you in the last hour and stuff. The important thing is to keep all that in mind and put this into practice, be it in your writing, be it in your photography, be it in your video output, or be it in your curriculum that I'm sure Sikandar is going to go back to his team and talk about in seconds. So keep everything in mind, Priya. Thank you so much again for taking time
Thank
out
you so
on
much.
a Sunday afternoon. Thank you, everyone else again. It was a
Yeah, thank
pleasure
you for
having you
having
all.
me.
And I'll
Thank
let you,
you.
Priya, say a few final words before we go away.
No, thank you so much for having me here. And I'm sure after this presentation, after receiving this training, you all would be trying your hands on this approach for sure.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you all. Take care. See you all very soon.
Okay.
Bye bye.